You've prayed with everything you had. You fasted. You believed. You begged. And yet, God didn't answer. You didn't just ask for anything. You weren't praying for a car or a promotion. You were praying for survival, for healing, for your family, for something that meant everything to you. And still, heaven stayed silent. So now you're stuck in the question no one dares to ask out loud. What if God doesn't care as much as they told me? I'm not here to offer you cliches. I won't tell you to just keep going or trust the process. I'm here to confront what's been buried inside your chest for too long, the unbearable weight of unanswered prayers. Because if you're still holding on after all the silence, God didn't forget you. He's been speaking, just not in the way you expected. And today, you're finally going to understand why. You see, silence doesn't mean absence, and unanswered prayers don't mean forgotten children. But the enemy wants you to believe that. He wants to turn your unanswered prayers into evidence that God has turned his back on you, that he's busy blessing everyone else, while you sit in the dark with tears nobody sees. And if he can't make you stop believing in God, he'll make you start questioning how much God believes in you. But here's the truth most people never hear from a pulpit. God's silence is sometimes his loudest answer. Sometimes he withholds the miracle to protect you from the destruction you couldn't see. Sometimes he delays the breakthrough because what you called readiness was still rooted in fear. And sometimes he simply steps back, not to abandon you, but to teach your faith to walk when it can't feel. Because faith that only functions with confirmation is not faith. It's dependency. God isn't ignoring you, he's refining you. And when God refines something, he turns down the noise. He clears the stage, and he makes you face the fire. Not to destroy you, but to purify everything that would have destroyed you later. That's why it felt like you were alone. That's why your prayers bounced off the ceiling. Not because God was gone, but because God was building something in you that didn't require applause to stand. Think of a seed in the ground, buried, hidden, surrounded by darkness, no light, no sound, no confirmation that anything is happening. But under the surface, where no human eye can see, the seed is dying to itself so it can become what it was always meant to be. That's you. You're not being punished. You're being planted. But here's the part they never explain. Growth feels exactly like abandonment in the beginning, because both are silent, both are dark, and both make you feel like you've been left behind. But a seed doesn't panic. It surrenders. It breaks open, and in that breaking, it becomes. So maybe the real reason God hasn't answered yet is because he's not in a hurry to give you what you ask for. He's determined to give you something greater than what you could imagine. A new version of you, stronger, steadier, unshakable. A version of you that doesn't crumble when the answer takes longer than expected, or when the blessing looks different than the prayer. Because let's be honest, if God had given you what you wanted, exactly when you wanted it, you might have built your faith around the result, not the relationship. And God didn't call you to chase results. He called you to walk with him, even in the silence. Let me speak this clearly, because someone listening right now has been on the edge of giving up. You've replayed your unanswered prayer so many times that it's become your internal soundtrack. You started to believe that maybe you're the exception to God's goodness, that maybe you're the one who slipped through the cracks of grace. But listen, you are not forgotten. You are not ignored. And this delay, it's not a denial. It's a divine setup. Because what God is building in the silence is too sacred to rush. You prayed for healing, but God's restoring something deeper first. Your trust. You prayed for direction, but God is rebuilding your discernment, so when the answer comes, you'll know it's him, and not a counterfeit dressed as a blessing. And that's why you've been feeling everything all at once. Worship and weariness, hope and heaviness, faith, and frustration. It's not because your faith is failing. It's because it's being stretched to fit the future God's preparing for you. So don't misinterpret this moment. This isn't the silence of absence. This is the silence of strategy. God is not late. He's just not following your schedule. Because His plan isn't to impress you. It's to transform you. You've been walking through a season that no one understands. You smiled through the storm, worshiped through the silence, and kept showing up, even when everything inside you was breaking. But let me tell you something that will shake the dust off your soul. Heaven saw every moment, every tear you cried in secret, every night you chose to believe. When believing felt like betrayal because nothing around you confirmed your faith. God recorded it all, and He didn't forget. You're not invisible. You're in process. You haven't been rejected. You've been selected. Not for punishment, but for preparation. Because what God is about to release in your life will require the version of you He's been shaping in the shadows. You thought this was just about one prayer, but it wasn't. This silence, this delay, was never just about the answer you were waiting for. It was about building the kind of faith that can't be manipulated by timing. Faith that doesn't fold when the calendar flips. Faith that doesn't crumble when the crowd is gone. Faith that roars in the wilderness like it's already in the promised land. That's what God's been doing in you. So if you're still standing, after the unanswered prayers, the delays, the confusion, the isolation, you're not just surviving, you're winning. You didn't see it before, but this was a battle of endurance. And the fact that you're here, breathing, still searching for God, still expecting, that's victory. Because hell threw its best shot at you. And you're still here. You're still standing. And guess what? The silence is about to break. The very thing that felt like abandonment is about to explode into revelation. The very moment that made you question everything will soon become the cornerstone of your testimony. Because God never writes stories that end in silence. He finishes what He starts. And if it's not good yet, He's not done yet. I declare this with everything in me. This is the season where God vindicates your weight. He's about to make public what He whispered to you in private. He's about to confirm what only you and Him knew. Every no, every not yet, every closed door. It was never a rejection. It was redirection. Because He wasn't preparing the blessing for you, He was preparing you for the blessing. And now you're ready. Not perfect, but prepared. Not flawless, but fire-tested. Not loud, but rooted. And when your answered prayer comes, and it will come, you won't bow to it. You'll walk in it, with authority, with clarity, with peace that no silence could steal. So lift your head. Stand to your feet if you have to. Throw your hands in the air like the chains already snapped. Because they did. Right here, right now, in the middle of your questioning, God just shifted something. You may not see it in the natural, but the Spirit recognizes it. Heaven recognizes it. Hell recognizes it. That's why it tried so hard to silence you. But the silence didn't win. The unanswered prayer didn't win. Your doubts didn't win. Because God never left you. He was working the entire time. And now it's your turn to speak, to shout, to praise, not because the answer came, but because the silence didn't kill your fire. Because faith survived the famine. Because you're about to walk into a promise that hell couldn't stop and time couldn't cancel. This is not just another moment. This is a divine announcement. The heavens are opening. Your soul is rising, and the silence is over.